Man leaves his mark on community, delivering free meals to elderly and mowing lawns for the vulnerable. When a few years back, 15-year-old Rodney Smith Jr. bumped into a 75-year-old man who was having a hard time mowing his lawn, he decided to help him by doing the demanding job instead of him. A few years later, in 2015, the same man, who was by then a student at Alabama A&M University, decided to found an organization whose main focus would be to help elderly citizens, veterans, disabled people, and single mothers mow their lawns. And that's how Raising Men Lawn Care Service was created. Smith inspired other kids to mow lawns for fellow citizens that would struggle if they were to do it for themselves. And he's now even offering those kids a different colored t-shirt for every 10 lawns they mow. In fact, the black t-shirt indicates top-level mower, meaning the person has mowed 50 lawns. When this happens, a Raising Men Lawn Care Service team flies to wherever that kid is and even gives them a brand new lawnmower. In total, so far, Smith has inspired more than 700 kids and mowed lawns in all 50 states as they wish to make a difference one lawn at a time. The goal, says Smith in an interview with WZDX, was to inspire kids. We wanted the kids to put down the video games and get out to make a difference in their community. But this year, the organization did more than lawn mowing for those in need. When the whole coronavirus thing started and elderly people or others who belonged to vulnerable groups couldn't leave their homes, Smith's team had an idea. They could help those fellow citizens by delivering free meals and supplies to their doors, since they couldn't go out and buy them themselves. So Smith, along with other kind-hearted men and women, started these free deliveries to veterans, elderly and disabled people, and single moms. This new service they offered is called Mow and Drop, as they combine lawn mowing with supplies delivery. People have been donating money for hand sanitizer, fresh fruit, water, toilet paper, and other items for those who can't get outside of their house, Rodney told AI.com. How does he find citizens who need his help? Well, he's been using social media a lot, and that's how he spots them. When he does reach their door, they're so grateful they'd love to hug him. But for the time being, a selfie together should suffice. Smith has been posting his selfies with the people he helps on social media, and his followers are loving them. His followers can't stop commenting on how kind his actions are and wishing him well. "You're awesome, Rodney," someone wrote on Facebook, while someone else commented on Instagram, "You're an amazing human being, Rodney. Keep on doing what you do." Unfortunately, his 50-state mowing tour had to be postponed due to the current situation and restrictions, but he'll be catching up soon when things get better for everyone. In the meantime, he'll keep helping in any way he can. What an inspiring story, and a great man Smith is. We hope he keeps up the great job he's been doing with his team all these years. You can watch a short interview with him regarding the 50-yard challenge he's been running for more than 2 years. Please share this with your friends and family. Boy fishes out old purse from water. Acts fast when he peeks inside. He turned to see what all the yelling was about and saw the fishing rod bend into the telltale curve that meant something big was on the other end. Rushing to help his nephew gain control of the line, he wasn't prepared for what he'd caught that day. The leathery and waterlogged shape came into view, and that's when other fishermen saw that it wasn't a fish at all. 11-year-old Brody Brooks couldn't contain his excitement at the thought of going fishing with the boys. With the new rod he just received for his birthday, he was ready for the adventure of a lifetime. But nobody on that fateful fishing trip could have expected to reel in an old purse with all its contents still inside. The men had taken their boat out to Lake Hartwell in Anderson County, South Carolina, in hopes of landing the catch of a lifetime. After setting up their rods and settling in for the day, the men lazily exchanged the usual banter while they waited for the first bite. Little did they know the catch of the day would send them running to the police. Ben Myers was keeping an eye on young Brody. He showed him how to bait his brand new fishing rod and cast it out into the lake. He didn't expect the boy to actually catch anything, though. You can just imagine his astonishment when Brody began to yell that he'd gotten a bite. But his excitement quickly gave way to fear when he realized just what his nephew had reeled in. Brody remembers that day well. "I felt like it was a big fish because it was bobbing my rod up and down," he said. "I'd just gotten an ugly stick, so I was scared I was going to break my rod. I was scared the line was going to snap." Once the heavy bag was pulled from the water, Brody unzipped it, but when he saw what was inside, a shiver ran down his spine. He yelled for Ben. As he lifted the purse in his hands, he knew this item must have been old, but he never expected how old it was until one piece inside it, in particular, gave the mystery away. The purse was in remarkably good shape, although the brown leather was faded and muddy. They opened it up and there were some items inside, some unrecognizable, but one made Ben's jaw hit the floor. The men were surprised by the contents the waterlogged purse held. The first thing Ben and his fisherman friends pulled out were some old and faded photographs. Still, they had no idea whose they might be, so they kept searching. "We might catch a can here or something like that, but as far as a woman's purse, that's a first for me," Ben said in an interview. "I've been fishing on this lake all my life, and that's the first time I saw something be caught like this." Thankfully, the items inside were in remarkable shape despite being submerged in 30 feet of water. Ben began rummaging around inside and pulled out 2 tubes of lipstick, a teasing comb, and some store cards. But what had happened to the purse's owner, and for how long had it lain on the murky bottom of the lake? Among the contents, there were a lot of pictures of people that were taken a long time ago. But still, they seemed in great shape despite having been underwater for such a long time. But it was impossible to pinpoint whom the purse had belonged to, until they opened up one part of the purse where all the secrets were stored. Inside another compartment were still more sodden photographs. Ben and Brody carefully separated them and laid them out to dry. But after they'd inspected all of them, one in particular caught their eye. A familiar face stared back at them. That's when they knew they had to call the police. The woman's face of the photograph was someone Ben recognized instantly. Brody thought her face looked familiar too. "She was a friend of the family. I went to school with her nephew, but I haven't seen her in 10 years, Ben told ABC News. But why was her purse in the lake, and how long had it laid there for? Ben grew nervous as he realized that he may be tampering with evidence. After reporting their find to the authorities, Ben searched Facebook for the woman's next of kin and found her nephew, who was astonished that the purse had been recovered after all these years. He immediately got in contact with his aunt to tell her the news. The purse's owner was April Bolt, now 49 years old. She couldn't believe that it had finally been found. "I couldn't believe it. I was lost for words. You never think you'd see it again," she said in an interview. She had lost it back in 1992, an unbelievable 25 years ago. But April believes that her purse disappeared under suspicious circumstances. April had attended a cookout back in 1992 at Lake Hartwell. "We were on the boat and my parents had a condo there, and we were grilling burgers and we parked the boat in the slip. There were 2 guys there fishing, and I hate to accuse anybody, but when I got back I was like, my pocketbook is gone," she explained. At the time, April had been devastated. "I was crying. It wasn't a whole lot of cash, maybe like $60. But a woman fits her whole life in her purse. It was devastating," she said. "My favorite lipstick was in there, and the color was discontinued." But it wasn't the lipstick or the cash that April was most upset about losing. Among the items that Ben had found inside the purse were baby photographs of her son. "My son's 26 now, but he was 15 months then, and I had all his photos that were professionally taken in my wallet. They have water damage, but you can make them out. April said tearfully. When asked about their amazing catch that day on Lake Hartwell, Ben and Brody still can't quite believe it. It was pretty wild, Ben told ABC News. You fish up a purse for one, then you actually know whose it is. Brody, on the other hand, hadn't been as thrilled as his uncle to have caught an old purse instead of a fish. The boy's disappointment was all over his face when they reeled in the leathery old purse. But it was Ben who had recognized the catch for what it was. I told him, "You ain't got no fish, you got a treasure." Ben recalls laughing. But what did April think after being reunited with her belongings that had been missing for over 2 decades? She simply said that the purse's recovery meant the world to her. But she still has some unanswered questions. Firstly, had her purse really been stolen all those years ago? And by whom? Secondly, she wonders why it must have returned to her now. She believes that the universe must have had its reasons. Everyone keeps telling me there's got to be a meaning to why you're finding this so many years later, she reveals. I'm sure God will reveal that in time. Meanwhile, she's enjoying the memories that the items in her purse have brought back. It's just so precious to have it back, she concludes.